How about on my dearest YouTube friends? Today we are in a new video about October 2025 Supervision. The world fight, in this case we have the very powerful Brennon Pool who has stabbing nodes. Every time the attacker has 100%, it is actually a bleeding disadvantage that causes him 1%. The attacker has a demolition disadvantage of 15% indefinite or attack. A super attack eliminates a demolition disadvantage when either of the two characters but an attack is a hemorrhagic disadvantage, which the second is an attacker, suffers in really passively. 4 seconds unless you're performing a super attack when the timer expires. Aside from all the defender's attacks, we're the guaranteed perjutant. This activates for 6 seconds and the attacker dodges or intercepts the defender and the defender can activate them on the lock itself. Here it is key to bring a character who is immune to bleeding, as for example in this case we are bringing Dust, because basically the stops and everything are going to be working and they are going to be giving us bleeding disadvantages, but in this case as our friend Dust is immune, so it comes to us. Pretty good, also pretty important. That timer that we have under the life of, in this case of Sun, must be a routing that will be activated every time it ends. Therefore, if we want to have that routing removed from us, we have to be throwing a super attack the moment we throw it. If not, well, you are already seeing that it does not take root, but we can easily get out of it by throwing relic or throwing super attack. In this case, we have used one, but any one is worth it. Here, any character immune to the bleeding that is going to be for us. Serve perfectly. You are already seeing him as our friend Venompool since he has fallen easily. Let's go to the next boss. Well, friends, we get to the next boss, which is Morbius. Let's see what has us every 12 seconds. The defender gains a regeneration upgrade that has restored 10% of their maximum health, and the attacker is far away from the defender. The attacker gains regeneration instead. Whenever an attacker performs the same type of basic attack twice in a row, he performs a weakness handicap. The defender has a 70% power rate like 20, while he has less. 2 power bars suffers 80% whenever the defender has an impersonator inflicting a 25% Pensify disadvantage that powers 5 seconds for each power bar spent. And if the defender is immune to the generation effect and the defender is simulating the bleeding effects in this case, then we take the very powerful support to apply high voltage disadvantages to it. Be very careful here with this node. It's okay because in this case, we will have to stay close to the opponent to avoid regeneration. Why? For every time that sub-attack 1 is not activated, will it be activating us? Well, an issue of petrification is okay. In this case, I don't know why it hasn't been activated. The LA has been activated for us. You see the petrification there? We got him. So what happens to that petrification? If we have hemorrhage, our lives will degenerate because it will take away our healing. So we have to be very careful in that sense. I always recommend that you stay close to this Morbius so that he regenerates, and it would be okay when the timer that is under Morbius' life runs out. And be very careful with Morbius himself, that with that advantage that he goes forward, try not to intercept him. Because if you don't take too long with that psionic slide, then what is called that this character has. And for the rest, the truth that it is a fairly simple fight, as long as taking into account the regeneration and that slide of Morbius, so perfect. Let's go to the next boss, friends. Well, very well, we reached the third boss, which in this case, the Night Computer. They have put some quite complex nodes on it, so it is already there. You'll see. Every time we block an attack, an incineration handicap is inflicted that inflicts 35% of opponent as energy damage, intercepts the defender with medium cloud attack to all attacker upgrades except robustness, and inflicts a burst of direct damage equivalent to 30%. So be careful about intercepting the character with a medium blow if the defender was hit with a basic attack while suffering. A stun disadvantage and a probability sport to purify and evade attack. Therefore, be very careful because he is going to be avoiding us all the time. Apart from the fact that his own abilities evade a lot due to the duration of the defender's super attacks, the attacker suffers a passive rooting effect. An inverted controls begins with rooting and always alternates the defender, ends with a suprata that separates the defender without incineration effects. Here, friends, it is going to be a rather complicated compact. I currently have the contracts that I have seen that Snake and Cyclops. But you are already seeing that with the stops we are going to generate. Well, that disadvantage of the generation is worth what I recommend with Snake to quickly reach over attack 1, and with this case, well, gain that accurate concentration to avoid the illusion of Night Prowler with Cyclops. In this case, since we have already avoided all the illusion with, well, I will say it, with Cycle. But what we can do is basically a medium weak, medium blow with that concentration. Third, to prevent the snake from leaving if they hit us. Well, in this case, as you have seen that they have hit us, well, we would have to throw a super attack again to regain that accurate concentration. Also, be very careful because you are already seeing that according to the super attack that in this case is acting in Nocturnal Radon under life. The snake right now, if it throws us a Nocturnal Rondo super attack, it would not take root. However, when he pulls us into his plant and roots us, he will change with reversed controls. So we have to be clear in what phase we are of that node change. Because if we can't be suffering an attack, in this case against a snake, it would be deadly because it would take away that precise concentration from us. Removing the illusion, you are already seeing that it is quite simple. So for me, snake is the best cocktail to give this nocturnal rodent. Moving on to the next fight, folks. Well, folks, we come to the fourth werewolf by night boss. In this case, it has some nodes. You are going to see them right now every 5 seconds. Attackers are a disadvantage in the next order. Weakness, disorientation, demolition, block, super attacks. Then it starts again when the defender hits an attack block in front of the defender. It regenerates 500% of the damage taken, so be careful about blocking attacks. The attacker sobre-rooting in form, passion. Then the defender's attack goes up and the defender is immune to anticulations. Every time the defender receives an impact, he has a 70% probability of passively generating 70% of the damage per attempt he receives in 3 seconds. The defender has 99% energy resistance and any hit 15 each energy year regenerates him. And if we put an intention bandage on him, auto voltage or cold wave, well, in this case, he got a power bar. Apart from the defender in rota in anticulation immunity and stun immunity every 10 seconds. In this case, we are going to try with a background of... And that's how it works, take it just in case, Spider-Woman. But I think that with the issue of energy resistance, it may be bothering us a lot. In this case, you are already seeing how you are regenerating massively. So we have to bring a character that takes away that regeneration, or in this case like Count Nefaria, that the more disadvantages he has in terms of energy, which I don't remember. What do you call energy accumulation right now? Well, the more we're going to be taking away that regeneration, okay? In this case, it will also empower us as that energy resistance as you are already seeing, okay? And be very careful because the super attacks of our werewolf will be rooting us as you are seeing right now because we have received great damage. But nothing happens because we can be regenerating and little by little we are doing much more damage. What I'm telling you is to avoid blocking us at all costs because otherwise it will be regenerating 500% damage. And if it does have to give you, as in this case in the super attacks, well, at least that the super attack 2 has, which is the easiest to avoid, and that the super attack 1 is okay. There we have it. We throw super attack 1, and especially because the last blow is easier to avoid. Clumsy, you have seen that it is a little simpler. In this case, he has given us a little tap, but nothing happens. This way, we remove the blocking of super attacks. Please, the issue of furies will go away. Let's see, 2020. That is, you have seen the damage that we have done very well. In this case, since we have plasma, well, it does not generate a power bar. That is the important thing, because if we had put the normal integration of condemnation, well, it would have regenerated, or sorry, it would have had the copy of power. Have you seen that it comes out simple with Condenefaria, with Spear Woman, with any character that takes away that regeneration? So friends, now we do move on to the new characters. Well friends, we come to the new character of this great Orture who in Castle looks like a pretty fearsome defender. Let's see that hitting the defender's block gives us an 80% chance of inflicting a rage handicap for 20 seconds. Each Grammatima is 10. Each rage handicap on the defender increases his critical strength. So let's avoid blocking him. It has good fight every 12 seconds. The defender has an unstoppable improvement every 4 seconds. If the attacker is far away, we have that unstoppable. Whenever the attacker gets a power bar, the defender has a better one. 4% out of generation to eliminate it, since we have to hit it hard when the attacker dodges backwards or has a crush timer of 1.20 seconds. Dodge back again because it makes us crush. That means that we cannot dodge the blow that is going to hit us, and every time the super defender disadvantages, slowly everything reduces the duration of the disadvantages by 10%. In this case, I'm taking Jim Gray so I can test how it works with this Frankencastle. We should not have any problems, and as I always say, let's avoid voting a lot. A blockade on Frankencastle because it may be making our lives quite impossible, as you are already seeing how it is regenerating. Very important also, without stopping from behind, it is worth hitting over attack 2. In this case, you have already seen the strength that Jim Gray has. How can we do so much damage? Frankencastle super attack 2 is the easiest to avoid. In this case, it is simply a bomb. But you have already seen that too because it has entered us. I have not taken into account the node, therefore that node has been activated, and to remove that generation improvement, I am already seeing you support the relic and throw a strong blow. So in this thing, we keep our Frankencastle away, and in this case, watch how it's hurting us. It's great that one, we managed to give him more strength because of neuroshocks. That in the end, that is quite good for us, and a strong blow to avoid that regeneration is the key to being able to do damage. And I haven't been telling you in the fight either, but if we go back several times, it will put us at the disadvantage of crushing, that it's going to make us suffer a lot. So Frankencastle comes out very easy with Gingri, but in reality with any mutant, it comes out simple, as long as taking into account the unstoppable and going backwards or forwards. So let's go get Dracula, the new character. Well friends, we reached the last character of this monthly supervision, and in the video we have Dracula, and in this case we are going to take Human Torches to be able to give the character a hard time, and I think he is the best opposition, okay? But still we are going to see the nodes. Defender cannot heal above the amount of life. When the defender receives a blow, he has 60% of nullifying an attacker's improvement. Therefore, we have to take characters that do not generate improvements for 8 seconds while attackers are a fear effect. The defender obtains passive regeneration that heals him for 5% off. Maximum life. Every time the attacker makes a stop, the defender receives a demolition disadvantage if the attacker receives the same basic attack twice in a row or has a placebo improvement. Therefore, be careful that it may be taking away those improvements from us. The defender starts the fight with 3 charges of Lazarus. When about to be knocked out, a charge is consumed to charge 20% of its life every 10 hits. In the middle of an attacker's combo, eliminates one of those charges. Which attacker loses the combo? Defender wins a recovery charge. The defender's healing abilities cannot be reversed when this is going to occur, instead just preventing healing. So in this case, well, let's go with our friend Torcha, 6-star mana. In thus, we should be annihilating this character. Let's see how we do. What is very important here is to avoid failure, as you are seeing in this case. That's why I say that Human Torch can be key in this fight, although he is bleeding us because of that failed flaw that the character has. And you are also already seeing how it is generating that very important loss of life. Let's prevent us from missing the combo as it just happened, because if it doesn't generate another improvement in Lazaro, and it may be bothering us to a great extent, but you are already seeing that with Human Torch, that everyone is going to have 6 stars in Dust, because it is doing quite well for us, although you have already seen that we have caught, unfortunately, because in the end he is a new character. Know if the animations are quite complicated, but in reality you are already seeing that with the Nova Flame of our Human Torch, it is quite simple. Simply that Lazarus thing is what may be bothering us. We just carry Human Torch again. In this case, in the 7-star in range 2, let's see if this is enough. Okay, that's why I wanted to take this Torcha, because of that failed failure. Otherwise, we would have to be making a stop, waiting for that failure to end, and that would be it. Do I recommend that you, as I already told you, block all of this Dracula's super attacks, because if not, he may be failing us a lot, okay? There you have it. As we are calmly blocking it, we block it, and the regeneration is taken away, and with one more tap, we finish. So folks, I've always liked the video. You are always there, and see you in other videos. Bye-bye. And before finishing the video, thank you very much to all of you who are members of the channel for becoming a member. You have it in the description. So many thanks to the VIPsters of Eliel Ramirez, Oscar Salmeron, and the authentic stories of Auca Roldan and Facundo Juan. Thank you very much for being members of the channel this September 2025.